Okay, here we go. So bust out those TI-84s. I'll show you how this works. And I can make this, how did I do that before? I think I did this. Yeah, there we go. Is that better? So you can see the screen better? Okay, so to put our data in, I got to remember, I haven't done this in quite a while. I go to stat. Where's, you guys see, I can't remember where that is. I know it's on the front here somewhere. Oh, there it is right there. There it is, stat. So we go stat, and we're going to edit. We want to edit a list in our statistics screen. So we hit either 1 or enter, because 1's already highlighted. And we're going to go to, instead of X1 and Y1, this is just going to say L1 and L2. Same idea. The L stands for list. So what goes in that first list? Well, that, right? We're going to put our input variable, which is pregnancy weight, in the L1 column. So you can do, if you've got a TI-84, go ahead and do this. Might as well work along with me here. Oops, don't do that. I want to go. Okay, then I go over to the next list. Do the same thing. Once you've got all that stuff in there, then how do you do all the stuff we did in Desmos? Well, to look at the graph, here's what you do. We're going to go to stat plot. So I'm going to go second stat plot, and I'm going to set up my first plot. Okay, normally this is already going to be set the way you want it, so you don't really have to do anything. What is this telling me? So it's plot 1. The type of plot is a scatter plot. That's what we want. There are other types of plots. Like if I really wanted to change this, I could go in. I could change the type to, like a line plot or a bar graph, or there's other things you can do. But for our purposes, it's always going to be scatter plot. What do I want my X list to be? Well, X list is going to be my input list, the input variables. I could make, it's L1, that's what I want. My Y list, the output list, is going to be L2. But what I might want to do is maybe in my stat screen, I've got multiple columns at the same time, and I want to compare specific columns. I could change which columns I'm using for input and output there. And the mark, best mark is use I think what it's on. The default is that little square. You can see them better, and we're good. Okay, and I'm not going to turn it on yet. I'll show you how to do that elsewhere, but we're good. So we can exit. Is that right? How do I do that? I think maybe I guess I have to go quit. Okay, yeah, there we go. So now if I want to look at this thing, if I go up to y equals and I'm going to clear this out of there. I don't want to look at the graph of that inequality. So I'll clear that. And while I'm at it, maybe I'll make that an equal sign. There we go. Get that back to normal. And then I'm going to go up. Oh, you know what I'm in? Okay, so here's another danger. So here, I just made the mistake that I always tell people not to make. I am in, remember I showed you guys how to do this stuff in inequality? That's the last thing we worked on. I'm still in inequality. You don't want to be in inequality unless you're specifically needing to be in inequality. So to get out of that, I'm going to go up and over and quit the app. Don't want to be there. Okay. I'm going to quit. Okay, now I'm going to go back to y equals. Okay, I cleared out that first, already cleared that first y function. Okay, I can go up hitting the up arrow to plot 1. That's what we set up, was plotter number 1. So I'm gonna highlight that to turn it on. And now if I hit graph, there it is. But where is it? I just graphed it, but I don't see anything. How come? I got to zoom way out. Look at the values in my ordered pairs in that table. They're really big. Okay, so the calculator makes it really easy for you to capture the view you want to by going to the zoom menu. If I go to the zoom menu, which one of those do you think I'm going to want to push? Yeah, zoom 9. So I'm going to hit zoom followed by a 9. There it is. There's my data. Okay, much better. What do you think about that data? Yeah, it's not looking like there's much, if any, correlation, right? Let's find out though. So let's do a little regression on this. So how do we do regression? Well, to do regression, we're going to go back to the stat screen and we're going to do a calculation. So we go over to the calculate menu. Which one do we want? 4. Yes. So we go stat calc 4 gets us to linear regression. And then what do we get here? So our X list is L1, Y list is L2. That's what we want, all right? So we go down and I could just hit calculate right now and it's going to tell me everything I need to know. Oops, no, it's not. Okay, so I got to fix this. So if it doesn't show me the diagnostics, I want it to. It's telling me what A and B are, but I want to know what R and R squared are also, right? So we're going to go into mode and I have to go down to stat diagnostics. See, it's turned off. I think the default, I can't remember if the default is on or off, but we're going to turn that on and then we'll quit and we'll go back to stat calc 4 calculate and it does what we wanted it to, right? Look at that correlation coefficient. That's pretty bad, right? 0.07. That means that less than 0.5%, R squared is less than 0.005. So less than 0.5% of this correlation is explained by the model. That's terrible, right? Okay, so there's my regression stuff, but how do I get the line? If we go back to stat calc 4 to the linear regression screen, look at this one right here. I can store the regression equation as a y variable. So I want to store that as like y1. Now, how do I get to y1? There's a couple ways. I can go to the variables button. I can scoot over to y variables and choose function y1. That's one way to do it. Or there's a shortcut I want to show you. You can use the alpha shortcuts. If I go alpha, and I'm just going to click on y equals for a second. Alpha F1, that corresponds to F1. Okay, well, look what that's telling me. Let me give this a different view. Okay, that's telling me this is the fraction screen. There's also an alpha shortcut for functions and for y variables. Well, I want the y variable one, so I'm going to hit F4, right? So if I just go alpha F4, it takes me to this y variable shortcut, and I can just hit enter for y1. And now if I go down and hit calculate again, everything looks the same. There's the same regression information. But now if I go back to y equals, look what's there. with spectacular precision. I mean, look at all the sig figs it keeps. It actually plugs the regression line equation into y1, and if I go back to graph, there it is. Okay, and now I can use that line just like I use any function on my TI-84. If I want to evaluate that at a specific point, all I have to do is the trace shortcut. I can just hit, like, what if I want to evaluate that? I want to make a prediction for like 120. That's a number that's not on my list. And even if it were, I want to see what the model outputs. So if I just go trace 120, oops, I didn't do it. How come I didn't do it? Oh, I know why I didn't do it. I got to hit trace because look what I'm on. I'm on the plot. I'm not on the line, right? There's two things being graphed there. I've got the scatter plot and the line. I need to put the cursor onto the line so I can evaluate the line instead of the scatter plot. How do you think I do that? What's your intuition tell you? Yeah, move the arrows. I could just jump. If I've got a whole bunch of things graphed, I can use the vertical arrows here to jump between graphs. So I'm going to jump down to the line. Okay, now look, I'm on Y1. So now I can use my trace trick. I can go trace 120. Oh, that didn't work either. What the heck? What's going on? What's that? Oh, it did? Huh. I wonder why it's not working for me. Oh, because I know. Because when I went to trace, it popped back to the scatter plot. I got to hit the down arrow to put myself on the line. After I hit trace, it again, mine defaults to the scatter plot. So if I trace and I move on to the line, now I can type 120 and it gives me the predicted output for a Y value. Okay. One disadvantage of this is I'm a little bit limited by my window. Okay, so I mean, you guys are going to get used to using this in college. So I know you might be thinking this is overkill for now, but I want you to at least see this, so later on you can recreate this more easily. Look at the X values on my window. It's going from about 95 to 144. So if I pick a value outside of that window, look what happens. If I go graph, go trace, get on the line, and I pick 150, it doesn't do it. How come? Because I'm outside of the window. Okay, so what do I have to do? Well, I just have to expand the window. That's no big deal. If I wanted to evaluate a value at like 150, I just have to go down and make sure that that's inside my window. So I might as well make the upper limit like 200, because really I don't even care about the graph at this point. I just want to know what the output is going to be. So now I would go trace, jump on the line, type 150, and it gives me a prediction. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. What else could I do with that? Another way you could do it, I'm giving you an embarrassment of riches here. If you didn't want to even rely on the graph, like maybe you didn't care that much about the graph, you could just use a table also. So I could go up to table, and I have to go to table set real quick. So I'm going to go second F2 to table set, and I want my independent to be on ask instead of auto. So that means I can plug in any value I want to. Okay. Now I'll just go second table, and look what it's given us. It's given us output. It plugs in various values of X, and it gives me outputs for Y1. So if I wanted to go down, if I want to plug in like 160, there's the output. Only disadvantage of table is it does truncate the rounds to a certain number of decimal places, but so does the graph. Okay. How could we? I'm gonna have to mess around with this. I know there's a way, but I don't want to waste your time. I'll show you tomorrow. There's a way you could go in and do this without using tables or graphs and get more decimal places too, but I have to think about that one a little bit. Okay. How are we doing? Does that make sense? Okay. It's on. I'm recording this, so if you want to go back and look at it later, you can. So R-squared coefficient of determination, we already talked about that. Which one of those graphs, 1, 2, or 3, is obviously going to be R-squared equals 12%? Third one, yeah. Which one's going to be 100%? First one, yeah. And 90%, second one. I bet I don't even have to do that. I bet you guys are fine. I think we're good. I think you can jump. I'll put both the assignments up. I'll give you guys a chance to work on those tomorrow a little bit. I think we're good.